There is a moment every student knows, a quiet but powerful moment when the clock seems louder than your thoughts, when the pages in front of you blur, and your heart begins to race for no visible reason. And in that moment you start to wonder if all the effort you put in will somehow slip away, not because you didn't prepare, but because something inside you feels out of control. And that something is stress, a force so subtle yet so overwhelming that it can turn even the most prepared mind into a battlefield of doubt and confusion. And what makes it even more frustrating is that stress does not always come from a lack of knowledge. It often comes from the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and the pressure of expectations, both from others and from yourself. And as these thoughts begin to pile up, your brain shifts into a survival mode, releasing chemicals designed to protect you in dangerous situations. But the problem is that an exam is not a life-threatening event, yet your brain reacts as if it is, tightening your focus in the wrong way, narrowing your thinking, and making it harder to recall even the simplest information. And suddenly you find yourself stuck, not because you don't know the answer, but because your mind is too overwhelmed to access it. And this is where many people begin to lose confidence, believing that stress is their enemy, something that must be eliminated completely. But what if that belief itself is part of the problem? What if stress is not here to destroy your performance, but to challenge how you respond? Because the truth is, stress is a natural response, a signal that something matters to you, a sign that you care about the outcome. And when you begin to see it from this perspective, something shifts, something subtle but powerful. You stop running away from stress and start observing it, understanding it, and in that awareness, you create space between your thoughts and your reactions. And that space is where control begins, because once you recognize that your racing heart and restless thoughts are not signs of weakness, but signals of importance, you begin to approach them differently, not with fear but with curiosity. And this shift in mindset is the first step toward mastering exam stress, not by fighting it, but by learning how it works. Because when you understand the psychology behind your emotions, you no longer feel trapped by them. You begin to realize that your mind is not your enemy. It is a tool, and like any tool, it performs best when you know how to use it. And this realization sets the foundation for everything that follows. Because before you can control your performance, you must first understand the hidden patterns shaping it. As you begin to understand that stress is not the enemy, but a signal, a deeper realization starts to unfold, one that most people never reach because they stop at fear instead of moving through it. And that realization is that your mind, under pressure, follows patterns that can either trap you or elevate you, depending on how you respond in critical moments. And this is where things become intense, because in the middle of an exam, when time is slipping away and your thoughts begin to spiral, your brain searches for certainty, but instead of finding clarity, it often replays doubt, reminding you of what you don't know instead of what you do. And this creates a loop, a dangerous loop, where anxiety feeds confusion and confusion feeds anxiety, tightening its grip with every passing second. And suddenly you feel like you are losing control, not just of the test, but of yourself. And this is the moment where most people break, not because they lack intelligence, but because they were never taught how to interrupt this pattern. And what makes it even more challenging is that the harder you try to force calmness, the more resistance you create, like trying to smooth water with your hands, only to watch the ripples grow stronger. And this is where the hidden truth reveals itself. The mind does not respond well to force, it responds to direction. And if you can gently redirect your focus, instead of fighting your thoughts, you begin to regain control in a way that feels almost effortless. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is by anchoring yourself in the present moment, not in the fear of failure or the pressure of results, but in the simple act of breathing, of noticing your surroundings, of bringing your awareness back to what is directly in front of you. And while this may seem too simple to be effective, it is precisely this simplicity that makes it powerful, because it breaks the cycle of overthinking and creates a moment of stillness. And in that stillness, your brain begins to function differently. Your memory becomes more accessible, your thinking becomes clearer, and your confidence begins to rebuild. But here is where the suspense deepens, because just as you start to regain control, another thought may appear, a whisper of doubt, asking if this calmness will last, if you will fall back into panic when the next difficult question appears. And this is where the real test begins, not the exam in front of you, but the one within you. The test of whether you will trust this new approach or return to old habits. And the answer to that question determines everything, because if you choose to trust the process, to stay grounded even when uncertainty arises, you unlock a level of performance that most people never experience. But if you fall back into fear, the cycle begins again. And this exact moment, is where transformation either takes root or slips away unnoticed. And when you reach this point, something profound begins to settle within you. A quiet strength that does not come from knowing every answer but from trusting your ability to face whatever comes next. And this is where stress transforms into something entirely different. No longer a weight that holds you down, but a force that sharpens your awareness and fuels your focus. Because when you stop resisting pressure and start working with it, your mind enters a state where clarity replaces chaos, where each question becomes an opportunity rather than a threat. And you begin to notice that the same energy that once caused your hands to shake is now helping you stay alert and engaged, guiding your attention exactly where it needs to be. And this is not a coincidence. It is the result of understanding how your thoughts shape your experience. Because once you realize that anxiety is not a signal to retreat, but a call to rise, you begin to respond differently in every challenging situation, not just exams, but in life itself. And this shift does not happen overnight. It is built through awareness, through practice, and through a willingness to change the way you see pressure. And as you continue to apply these techniques, something even more powerful happens. Your confidence becomes internal, no longer dependent on perfect conditions or guaranteed outcomes, but rooted in your ability to adapt and stay present. And this kind of confidence cannot be shaken easily, because it is based on experience, on the repeated proof that you can handle discomfort without losing control. And when you carry this mindset into your exams, you begin to perform at a level that feels natural rather than forced, because you are no longer trying to eliminate stress. You are using it as a tool, channeling it into focus, discipline, and determination. And over time, this approach rewires the way your brain responds to pressure, making calmness your default instead of panic. And this is where true mastery begins, not in avoiding challenges, but in embracing them with a steady mind and a clear purpose. And as you sit in that exam room, feeling the same heartbeat that once intimidated you, you now recognize it as a sign that you are ready to think, ready to respond, ready to perform. And in that moment, you are no longer controlled by stress, you are guided by it. And that changes everything. Because success is not just about what you know, it is about how you show up when it matters most. And when you learn to master your inner world, no external pressure can truly defeat you. It can only reveal the strength you have built within yourself, waiting for the moment to rise and be seen. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.